Welcome back. Today we're turning our spotlight on one of the smallest coins with the biggest surprises, the 5-cent coin. It may seem tiny and ordinary, but don't let its size fool you. Some rare 5-cent coins have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, all because of a minting error, unique variety, or limited mintage. So, before you overlook that nickel in your pocket, stick around, because it might just be your ticket to a hidden fortune. The 1964 5-cent coin from the United States may seem like just another nickel, but under the right circumstances, this ordinary coin could be worth as much as $60,000. Yes, even a coin with a dark shade and signs of rust like yours can hold unexpected value if it features rare traits or errors that are highly sought after by collectors. Let's break down what makes the 1964 nickel potentially valuable, and why your dark circulated coin might be more than just pocket change. The 1964 Jefferson Nickel features Thomas Jefferson on the obverse with the iconic Monticello building on the reverse. This design had been in use since 1938 and remained largely unchanged for decades. 1964 was a special year for U.S. coinage, primarily due to a massive coin shortage. To help combat this shortage, the U.S. Mint produced an unusually high number of nickels in 1964, and it was the last year nickels bore a date before the Mint froze the date on nickels for 2 more years. 1965 and 1966 nickels were also dated 1964. So, what makes the 1964 nickel worth $60,000? 1. Rare minting errors. The real value lies not in the standard 1964 nickel, but in the rare errors that were unintentionally released into circulation. A few examples that could boost your coin's value: double die obverse, DDO. Look closely at the inscriptions like "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." If you notice doubling in the letters or date, you could have a very valuable coin. Off-center strike. If your coin's design is not properly aligned, it's a striking error that collectors love. Clipped plancher. A curved or straight clip on the edge indicates the coin was not punched properly during minting. Improper alloy. Some nickels were accidentally struck on the wrong metal. If your coin has a strange color or is lighter or heavier than usual, it might have been struck on a different plancher. Even a coin that looks rusty or dark in shade can still display these errors. So, don't be discouraged by its appearance. Errors are far more important than looks when it comes to value. Third, low-quality minting and scarcity of high grades. Due to the high volume of 1964 nickels minted, over 2.8 billion, the dies were overused and poorly maintained, leading to weak details. That's why finding a coin with strong, sharp details, even in circulated condition, is rare. Combine that with an error, and the price skyrockets. At first glance, your 1964 5-cent coin with a dark, rusty surface may not seem impressive, but with hidden mint errors or rare features, it could easily be worth $60,000 or more to the right collector. Always examine the coin carefully or have it evaluated by a professional numismatist, because sometimes the most unassuming coins hide the greatest value. A regular 1977 5-cent coin might seem like pocket change, especially if it's clearly been circulated and shows signs of wear. But there's something fascinating about this particular year that makes some of these nickels incredibly valuable, so much so that even in circulated condition, one rare version of this coin has been valued at $40,000. The 1977 nickel features Thomas Jefferson's portrait on the front, just like every other nickel from 1938 to today. On the back, Monticello, his Virginia home, sits quietly as the symbol of the coin's reverse design. Most people wouldn't look at it twice. It's small, it's common, and you probably had a few in your hands as a kid without ever knowing what to look for. But that's what makes this story so surprising. What turns an ordinary 1977 5-cent coin into a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars? The answer lies in a mix of minting errors, unusual characteristics, and extreme rarity. In some rare cases, 1,977 nickels were struck on the wrong type of metal planchet. Sometimes even on planchets meant for foreign coins. These rare striking errors are like lightning in a bottle. Only a few made it out of the mint unnoticed, and collectors hunt them like buried treasure. There have also been examples of 1977 nickels with doubling in the lettering or the date, known as a doubled die error. These doubled features are not visible unless you look closely, and many people don't realize they've had one in their hands. On top of that, if the coin shows wear from circulation but still holds visible details, especially with a known error, its value can rise significantly. That's exactly the case with the coin valued at $40,000. Its condition may be circulated, but what sets it apart is the unique combination of historical error and scarcity. Unlike brand new or high-grade collector coins, this one tells a story. It passed through people's hands, maybe sat in drawers or jars for decades, but it carried something special all along, a mistake the mint didn't catch, and few collectors ever get the chance to own. In the coin collecting world, condition is important, but rarity is king. If only a handful of coins exist with a specific minting flaw or struck on the wrong metal, their value jumps exponentially. Even with scratches, wear, or dullness from circulation. That's why collectors pay such high prices. They know just how rare these kinds of finds are. So if you ever come across a 1977 nickel that looks a bit off, whether it's the weight, the shine, or the way the lettering looks, don't dismiss it. It could be one of those rare examples that slipped through the cracks and is now worth far more than its face value. A simple 5-cent coin might just turn into $40,000, and all it takes is a sharp eye and a little bit of luck. The 1994 5-cent coin, often overlooked in everyday change, might surprise you with its potential value, up to $80,000, especially if it features unique errors or rare characteristics. Even in circulated condition, like the coin you're holding, it can be highly desirable to collectors under the right circumstances. Let's take a closer look at why a 1994 nickel could be worth that much. The obverse of the 1994 U.S. nickel features Thomas Jefferson, and the reverse shows Monticello, his iconic Virginia estate. This design remained largely unchanged for decades, but hidden within some of these familiar coins are minting mistakes and rare details that make them exceptionally valuable. Why is a 1994 nickel worth $80,000? First, rare error coins. The most significant driver of value for modern nickels, including those from 1994, is minting errors. Here are some key errors that collectors pay high premiums for. Double die obverse, DDO. If the letters or date appear doubled, that's a clear sign of this rare and valuable error. Off-center strike. A coin that is misaligned during striking will have part of the design missing and a blank crescent-shaped area. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin. Broad-struck coins. These coins are struck without the retaining collar, causing them to spread out and look slightly warped or oversized. Wrong planchet error. Some 1994 nickels were accidentally struck on pennies or foreign coin blanks. These coins usually have odd colors, incorrect weights, and fetch enormous prices. Even if your 1994 coin is circulated, if it includes one of these mint errors, it could be worth tens of thousands. Finding a full steps 1994 nickel in circulated condition is extremely rare, especially if it's combined with a mint error. Collectors will pay a premium for this mix of error plus strong detail, and prices can rise up to $80,000 at auction. Even a circulated 1994 5-cent coin, if it has the right kind of minting error or rare characteristic, can be worth up to $80,000. Your coin may have the kind of story collectors are looking for, whether it's an off-metal strike, a dramatic off-center error, or bold doubling on the obverse. It's always worth getting your coin checked by a professional or comparing it carefully with certified examples online. Because even in a handful of spare change, treasure could be hiding in plain sight. At first glance, a 1975-cent coin in bad condition might look like something you'd toss into a coin jar and forget. It's discolored, maybe has a red shade from age or exposure, and definitely shows signs of wear. But sometimes it's exactly these coins that hide incredible stories and incredible value. Believe it or not, this very coin, despite its rough condition, is worth a jaw-dropping $70,000. The 1975-cent coin may seem ordinary. It features the same design collectors are used to seeing on nickels from the era, Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. But when we dig deeper, this year was anything but normal for U.S. coinage. The 1970s were a time of transition and experimentation for the U.S. Mint. The economy was shifting, and the Mint was adjusting how it produced coins. Some planchets were misused, some designs slightly changed, and some minting errors slipped through, making specific 1970 nickels unexpectedly valuable. In particular, coins from this year with minting errors or strange discoloration have caught the attention of collectors. One such rare variation is a 1970 nickel that was accidentally struck over a previously used coin. These are called overstrikes, and they are extremely rare. Others were misaligned during striking or struck on the wrong planchet, another highly collectible type of error. If the coin also displays unusual toning or color, like the red shade mentioned here, it can become even more desirable. Toning often happens over decades as the metal reacts with air, moisture, or even the environment where the coin was stored. While many view this as damage, some collectors see it as character, especially when paired with other rare traits. Even though the coin is in bad condition, rarity outweighs looks in the world of coin collecting. Scarce pieces from 1970, especially with strange colors and strong strike characteristics, can command massive prices. In fact, some examples in worse condition than expected have still crossed the $70,000 mark at auctions, simply because of how rare and mysterious they are. Many people might wonder how a beat-up 5-cent coin could possibly be worth so much. The answer lies in a mix of history, rarity, and collector demand. With fewer examples in circulation and more collectors hunting for unique finds, prices can skyrocket fast. These coins aren't just money, they're artifacts, snapshots of a particular moment in American minting history. So that red-shaded, beat-up 1975-cent coin you almost ignored? It might just be the key to unlocking a small fortune. Always take a second look, especially when a coin seems off or unusual, because in the world of coin collecting, even the roughest pieces can hide extraordinary value. A simple 5-cent coin from 1944 might not seem like much at first glance. Worn from decades of use and passed through countless hands, it's easy to overlook. But for collectors and historians, this little piece of metal holds a story worth far more than its face value. This 1944 5-cent coin in circulated condition is valued at an astonishing $80,000. The coin was minted during a unique and challenging time in world history, World War II. Resources were scarce, and every material had a purpose. Because nickel was essential for war production, the U.S. Mint temporarily changed the composition of the 5-cent coin. From 1942 to 1945, instead of the usual nickel, these coins were struck in an alloy of 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese. That makes the 1944 5-cent piece a wartime nickel with a higher silver content that gives it both historical and intrinsic value. On the front, or obverse, you'll find the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. The reverse side features Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate. But what makes this wartime version unique is the large mint mark, either a P, D, or S, placed above Monticello on the reverse. This feature was introduced specifically for the wartime silver nickels and is found only in coins from 1942 to 1945. Collectors value these coins for many reasons. The silver content already gives them a premium, but it's the historical significance and rarity in good condition that really drives up the price. Many of these coins were heavily circulated, and finding one that's still in solid condition, even if it's circulated, is a real prize. The coin we're discussing today, a 1944 5-cent piece, might show signs of wear and tear, but it still holds all the key identifying marks and enough detail to attract serious collector interest. Some examples of this coin have fetched high prices at auctions due to their condition, mint mark, and sometimes due to minor but valuable minting errors. Errors like double dies, off-center strikes, or repunched mint marks can raise the coin's value significantly. But even without those errors, a well-preserved 1944 5-cent coin, especially one with a clean mint mark and visible details, can easily be worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's remarkable how such a small coin, one that people likely used to buy candy or stamps, can now command up to $80,000 in the right market. That's why collectors always emphasize, check your change. These coins are out there, sometimes hiding in drawers, jars, or passed down through generations. If you come across a 1944 nickel, especially one with a large mint mark above Monticello, it's definitely worth a closer look. Who would have guessed that a coin made during wartime out of necessity would turn into one of the most prized nickels in American coin history?